So, 私の犬の方が私の猫より大きいです。Okay. 私の犬の方が私の猫より大きいです。That works. Yep. The dog is bigger than your cat, right? Makes sense. 犬の方が猫より好きです。You don't need the ga here.
Okay.
Because the neko yori.
I like dogs.
Dogs better than cats in general.
Oh.
She used watashi no, he didn't. Okay.
Neko ga ichiban.
We can fight about that in later.
Okay.
アメリカと日本とどちらの方が大好きですか？アメリカの方が日本より大きいです。It wasn't 大好き, it was just 大きい. Sorry, I don't know why I keep expecting to see ski and it's not there. 大きいです. Okay, so アメリカと日本とどちらの方が大きいですか？アメリカの方が日本より大きいです。はい、that works. はい。Definitely.
A little bit.
Yeah, 天ぷらと寿司とどちらの方が好きですか？ Okay, that's just kind of a messy key, that's all. Okay,
Sorry.
寿司の方が天ぷらより好きです。おいしいから。Okay, いいですよ。Any questions? So does everybody kind of get the concept of how to use nohoga and yori?
So.
Okay. One thing I wanted to point out, just because my native speaker friends who have encountered this textbook find it strange, they have said that, I'll just use this one since I've already marked the yori part. The yori piece, that unit, very often comes at the front of a sentence instead of the middle. So it's just as good to say neko yori inu no hou ga suki desu.
Oh, I think I've heard that more often. Actually.
Yeah.
That sounds better.
Yeah, a lot of native speakers say that order with yori first is more natural sounding, and they, Toshi-san and Ife-san, the guys who are here at this campus, they were surprised the first time we went into this chapter, and they were like, why are they putting the Holga first instead of Yori first? Doesn't make sense.
Oh.
So, so I just wanted to point out that, you know, if you're playing musical sentence parts, that is an option to just take whatever is here and here and swap them around. And if you use an example of something like inu ga suki desu, that's your main idea of the sentence, right? That you like dogs. Comparing it and saying that you like dogs better than cats is like a more complex, more advanced version of the same sentence concept, right? So, inu no hou ga suki desu by itself makes sense in the sense that you're saying, I like dogs better. Better than what? Better than whatever was mentioned recently. You know, so if you've been talking about elephants and you say, inu no hou ga suki desu, then you mean that you like dogs better than elephants, right? But if you've got the neko yori, if you want to put it in front, neko yori, inu no hou ga suki desu, then you're saying, compared to cats, I like dogs better. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean that you like dogs better than all animals, just that you like them better than cats, right?
Ji-san got it.
Hi.
So if I were to say, like in the workbook, if I were to put yori first, I said Kanada yori Russia no hou ga oki desu.
Right.
Is that right? So Russia is larger than Canada?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the grammar is right. I believe that's
Yeah,
also a
okay.
fact.
Okay.
You yeah, I'm thinking about like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Russia's bigger than Canada. Yeah. Okay,
Cool.
so,
So
yeah,
yori
so
first.
neko yori inu no hou ga suki desu. So if you wanted to convert some of
Change
these
that.
others, can you look at it and see where you would make your change?
So, watashi no neko, the neko yori,
Right.
watashi no inu no hou ga ookii desu.
Hi. And the other thing to make note of is the fact that although this, using watashi no twice does make it very clear that you're talking about your own cat and your own dog, it is possible to say this sentence with the watashi no only used the first time, and it kind of still implies, so watashi no neko yori inu no hou ga ookii desu. It still implies that you're talking about your own dog as well as your own cat. But, you know, if you're thinking that it might sound ambiguous or you're uncomfortable leaving out this extra watashi no, you can still leave it in there. It's not a problem.
But if there was like a stray dog or something and you were comparing it to your cat, for example, you'd probably say like kono.
Yeah,
Just
or
to specify.
ano. Yeah,
Ano.
yeah, something like that. So depending on where the stray dog was, if it was like across the street over there, it would be ano. If you're holding it, kono.
Yeah.
You know,
If it was standing in front of you, would you say sore or sono?
if it's standing right in front of you and it's closer to you than it is to the person you're talking
Okay.
to, then you would still use kono. If it's closer to the person you're speaking with, you would say sono. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Let's just do the same thing to these two, just to get comfortable with the idea. So, アメリカと日本とどちらの方が大きいですか? And obviously when you're first starting to ask the question, if you really don't know which one is bigger, then there's no difference. You know, it doesn't matter which noun you put first position, which noun you put second position, because obviously you're not even sure which is going to be the answer, right? Okay, so アメリカの方が日本より大きいです is correct. If you wanted to flop it around, you would say
日本より、
はい
アメリカのが大きいで
の
す。
方が、
日本。
ね、日本よりアメリカの方が大きいです。And you've noticed in the textbook, I'm sure, that the blank yori piece can be left out entirely, right? Especially if it's an answer to a question. You know, アメリカと日本とどちらの方が大きいですか? アメリカの方が大きいです works. And so I think that may be one of the reasons why Japanese people tend to put the yori phrase first, because it's optional. And remember, in Japanese, whatever's closest to the verb or predicate in the sentence is usually considered to be more important. And very often things that are optional go on the front of the sentence, and then if they aren't going to get used, they get dropped, right? So for example, watashi wa in various sentences like watashi wa gakusei desu, go back to a really level 1 thing. You can say just gakusei desu. And as long as the context is clear, people understand that you mean yourself, right? So the same kind of thing is true with these yori phrases, especially when it's the answer to a question. Yeah, アメリカの方が大きいです. You can leave out the yori phrase. Okay, so the conversion over here, 天ぷらと寿司とどちらの方が好きですか? 寿司の方が天ぷらより好きです. Okay, and if you wanted to change that, you could say
天ぷらより寿司の方が好きです。
はい、天ぷらより寿司の方が好きです. Or if you wanted to leave it out, you could just say 寿司の方が好きです. Okay, so you've got a variety of options to work with. じゃあ、やりましょうか. So, I'm going to try to kind of be in the middle so that I can see everything. Ready? Okay, so pair work. What I'm gonna suggest we do is that we skip some of the ones that have the little sound symbol next to them, because those are ones that are on your CDs and you could listen and do them on your own as homework. But there are others, very often the ones labeled pair work or group work, that don't have that symbol, which means they're not on your CDs. So let's try to mostly do those in class, so that way, hopefully we won't run out of time on a given chapter. Okay? And then, of course, if you have questions or you're struggling with the concept, we could always go back and pick up more of those exercises for extra practice, or do some of the ones from the workbook for extra practice. Okay, so let's look at part B, 238ページですね。238ページ。So、じゃあ、ジョーさんとサンデンさん、エクサンプルを読んでください。
夏と冬とどちらの方が好きですか？
夏の方が冬より好きです。
どうして？
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go
ど
ahead.
うしてですか？
泳ぐのが好きですから。
はい、泳ぐのが好きですから。いいですか？皆さんわかりますか？ Okay, and just as an aside, if you like both options that someone asked about,
X も
yeah,
Y も
X も Y も好きです。And if you don't really care for either one, X も Y も嫌いです or 好きじゃないです or あんまり好きじゃないです or whatever. Okay, so じゃあサムさんとアンバーさん1番お願いします。
Oh, this is mine. 寿司と天ぷら寿司と天ぷらとどちらの方が美味しいですか？ Yes, that is tasty. Delicious.
寿司の方が天ぷらより美味しいです。
はい、いいですよ。
どうしてですか？
魚が好きです。
から。
から。
はい、魚が好きですから。いいですね。
そうです。
はい。
あ、そうか。
そうですか。Or そうか。そうですか。Yeah, that
Drop the
usually.
formality.
Yeah, when you're commenting on what somebody said as a statement, oh really? そうですか.
そうですか。
Yeah,
そう
it's
です。
そうですか. The ka kind of makes it sound more natural. If you
Yeah.
leave that out,
It's like,
it's like you're saying
Oh,
that's
so it is.
true
oh,
instead of oh really.
okay.
You see the difference? Okay, じゃあ2番、アンバーさん。Ellie-san, do you want to try or you want to just listen? She's in level 2, but she's sitting in.
どうぞ。頑張れ。
はい、じゃあアンバーさんとデーモンさん、どうぞ。
頭がいい人とかっこいい人と
A second.
と名前が
どちら
どちら名前
の方が
の方が、好きですか？
好
頭がいい人の方が好きです。
はい。いいですね。
どうしてですか？
どうして
どうしてです。
あ
そうですね。
天才から I don't know.
天才ですから。
Why?
OK いいですよ。はい、じゃあ3番、レイモンさんとジョーさん。
ジョーさん、
はい。
野球とサッカーの方が人気
じゃあ野球とサッカーと
と、
どちらの方が
どち野球とサッカーとどちらの方が人気がある？
人気がある if you're asking it in the short form question.
人気がある？
はい。
野球もサッカーも人気がある。
どうして？
とっても楽しいですね。
あ、いいですね。とても楽しいから。
から。
いや。いいですね。じゃあ、ジョーさんとサンダンさん。
サンダンさん。
ジョーさん。
船と飛行機とどちらいい方が
どちらの方
の方が好きですか？
飛行機の方が好きです。
どうしてですか？
早いですから。
あ、そうですね。はい。We skipped 4番。
あ、
サンダンさんサンダンさんとアンバーさん4番やって
ジョーさん。
はい。
中国料理と日本料理とどちらの方が好きですか？
中国料理の方が日本料理好きです。
どうしてですか？
Chinese food and Japanese food.
はい。
Yeah, or cuisine, I guess,
Yeah.
more specifically.
日本料理を食べません。
あ、そうですか。食べませんから。
から。
うん
はい。
そうですか。
いいですね。じゃあ5番どうぞ。あ、5番じゃなくて6番。6番どうぞ。
日本の車とドイツの車とどちらの方がいいですか？
日本の車の方がいいです。
あ、そうですか。面白いですね。
三菱。好きです。
あ、そうですか。じゃあ7番どうぞ。
ジョーさん、漢字とカタカナとどちらの方が簡単？ What's 簡単？
簡単、easy。
Easy。
簡単。
そうの方が簡単ですか？
カタカナの方が簡単です。
どうして？
難しい。
あー難しくないです
から
から
難しくないですか Okay, or you could say
漢字は難しいから。
漢字は難しいから or、カタカナは46しかないんですから Only 47 of them
Oh.
compared to kanji, which, you know, I think the unabridged dictionary has something like 80,000 kanji in it.
What? What?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the unabridged dictionaries are like the size of an encyclopedia.
I was telling Ellie my exaggeration of the kanji was about 5,000. So I
No,
think I
you
was a
said
little.
2,000.
Well,
But
that's the
2,000 is-
basic ones.
2,000
But there's
are-
actually like 5,000.
Yeah, well,
It's not that bad if you don't count.
Okay, there you go.
Right. Well,
Just don't think
Just
of
ignore the
80,000.
Just don't think about the numbers. Yeah, I read a statistic once that 90% of kanji usage is around 500 of the most commonly used kanji.
Okay.
And the rest of the required kanji for Japanese literacy are only used like 10% of the time.
And that's only 2,000 of the 80,000?
Yeah, 2,000 is considered literate.
Oh my
I
goodness.
mean, there's words in the English dictionary that we don't use.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, have you
Plenty
seen
of Pabulum
an
for us to
Oxford
absorb.
unabridged dictionary before? The OED, the Oxford English Dictionary is an unabridged dictionary. It's
Yeah.
also the size of an encyclopedia.
Okay.
So,
That's a lot.
yeah.
English is ridiculous though.
So, yeah, the number of vocabulary words in any given language is pretty similar across the board. I think there are some languages that have more words than others, but, yeah. What makes it harder in Japanese or Chinese is just the fact that it's kanji.
Yeah. Well, it's not that bad once you get to know all the radicals.
Yeah,
It's pretty much the same thing after a while.
yeah. So, じゃあ、 8番ですね。どうぞ。
はい。
セレンさん
調査。
春と秋秋とどちらの方が好きですか
秋の方が大好きです。
そうですか。
どうしてですか
Okay, I'm gonna do an experimental sentence here.
はい。
たくさん色を見てから。
見るから。
見るから。
Yeah.
Would that work?
Yeah,
I looked at okay.
yeah.
It worked. Got it.
Yeah, or you could extend that by saying, たくさん色を見るのが好きですから。
Oh, okay, that's
I
what,
like
that's
to
actually what I wrote.
see- Yeah, yeah, I like
好きですか
to look at a lot of colors. Yeah,
Wonderful.
いいですね。
はい。9?
はい。
日本の冬とあなたの国の冬の方が
と、
と
どちらの
どちらの方が暖かいですか暖かい。
あなたの
Do you know what they mean by あなたの国?
Oh.
Your country.
そう、私の国。
Yeah.
それ私の
はい。
私の国の
冬。
冬
冬。
冬
はい。
私の
私の国の冬。
Oh, I was looking at the wrong one, that's why.
あ、that would help.
冬の方が日本の冬どちら
冬より。
より暖かいです。
はい、そうですね。
どうしてですか
フロリダはとても暖かいですか？
はい、いいですね。
そうですか。
はい、いいですね。じゃあ9番と、10番どうぞ。10番
日本の生活日本の生活とあなたの国の生活とどちらの方が楽しいですか？
あなたの国の
あなたの、she asked you あなたの、so you would say 私の。
私の
はい
私の国の生活の方が楽しいです。
はい、いいですよ。わかりますか？
はい。
国の生活とかわかりますか？はい、じゃあ次はグループのcomparison ですか？はい。So
どこ？
次のページ、239ページのパート B 読みましょう。
はい。
So 例えば、じゃあレモンさんとジョーさん、エグザンプルを読んでください。
食べ物の中で何が一番好きですか？
寿司が一番好きですか？
はい。
OK。
皆さんわかりますか？
はい。
So, グループの中で、いいですね。グループの中で何が一番 adjective。一番大きいです、一番面白いです、一番高いです、whatever。Okay. じゃあ、ジョーさんどうぞ、一番どうぞ。
飲み物の中で何が一番好きですか？
牛乳一番好きです。
牛乳
牛乳が一番好きです。
はいじゃあ、サンダさん、2番どうぞ。
世界の街の中で何が一番好きですか？
Actually, since it's 世界の街、
世界の街
places, right? So、
うん
世界の街の中でどこが一番
どこが一番好きですか？
はい
Is it asking what city it is in?
Yeah, from out of the whole world, cities all around the world, 世界の街。Yeah, 世界 is world,
Okay.
so 世界の街。Among cities of the world, 世界の街の中で、どこが一番好きですか？ Which one do you like the best?
Saint Augustine Augustine
はい。
Saint Augustine が好きです。
はい。or が一番好きです。
一番。
はい。次です。
一番
Ichiban means
Number one.
number
Oh, right.
one, most, best. So it's the one you like the most.
Literally translated to number one.
Yeah.
Ichiban.
Yeah.
It's been my favorite word in Japanese since I was like 8.
Yeah. Yeah. My grandfather used to have a T-shirt that had Ichiban on it in kanji,
Yeah.
and I just for me, it was a weird thing for somebody to walk around wearing because it sounds like bragging, you know?
It's like number one.
Yeah.
私は一番
Yeah. But of course, he didn't know what it said. He just liked that it had kanji on it, you know?
It's like people and their tattoos.
Right. 怖い。じゃあ、どうぞ。
有名人の中で一番誰が一番好きですか？
横尾野さん
おー
が一番好きです。
はい、いいですね。面白い。
Would her name be the other way?
おのの
In Japanese?
Yeah, in Japanese, it would be Onoyoko-san.
Okay.
Yeah, but because she's internationally known and sort of not considered just Japanese anymore, sometimes they do say it the English way.
Oh,
Because they usually do foreign names in the foreign order, and since she married John Lennon and, you know, I don't know if she ever became a British citizen or not, but she's lived in the West a long time.
Right.
So they sometimes treat her as if she weren't really Japanese anymore.
Natto, 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 natto.
納豆
嫌い。
なるほど。 何番ですね。
日本料理の中で何が一番嫌いです
あ、
ですか？
納豆。
納豆。
納豆が
This is
一番嫌いです。
あ、納豆。
納豆。
納豆。
納豆が一番嫌いです。
なるほど。じゃあ、ジョーさんとサンデーさん。
音楽の中で何が一番好きですか？
J-POP を、J-POP の、J-POP が一番好きです。
はい。
はい。
そうですね。
はい。
はい、いいですね。どうぞ。
Even though I lied, but that's all I can think of. 季節の中で何が一番好きですか？何ですか？季節？
春、
あ
夏、
あ、
秋、冬。
シーズン。
はい。
秋です。
夏が一番好きです。
はい、いいですね。
そうですか。
By the way, because kisetsu is time, I think they might actually ask it as kisetsu no naka de itsu ga ichiban suki desu ka?
Oh, okay.
When do you like among the seasons?
Write that down.
Or you could also use dochira ga ichiban suki desu ka? Which one do
Okay.
you like?
So,
Yeah.
if I were to say I don't feel the same as you, like say in response to that, would I say watashi mo nai? Could I say that?
No,
Or-
it doesn't really
okay.
work that way. No, if you're agreeing with them, you can say watashi mo. Yeah, me
Okay,
too.
So I can't say
But-
watashi mo negative?
No, it
Okay.
doesn't work.
Darn. I thought it was onto something.
じゃあ、7番ですね。
エリさんどうぞ。
クラスの中で何が
Actually, 誰
誰誰誰が一番いい学生ですか？
Please asking.
Who's the best?
Who's the best student
Yeah.
in this class?
Who's the goodest student?
ジョーさんが一番いい学生です。
そう
ありがとう。
ジョーさん上手。
面白い。じゃあ、8番どうぞ。
クラスの中で誰が 一番背が高いですか？
私はが一番背が高いです。
はい、
Tallest.
背が高い tallest.
Sega is height and Takai is height.
Yeah,
Big.
well, set is
Set.
like, it's actually like your back or your body,
Mm.
and then ga is the particle ga, and takai is
Yeah.
tallness,
It's
height.
like, it's
So,
like the Thai like expensive.
Yes.
yeah, it has both meanings. So if you're talking about prices, takai means expensive. If you're talking about physical size, takai means tall or high, like a high building. Yeah, so, right, so,
And for
父さんが
reference,
一番背が高いで
It
すね。
does look like a building.
そうですね。面白いビルですね。じゃあ、ローさんどうぞ。
クラスの中で誰がたくさん
誰が一番
誰が一番たくさん食べますか？
そうですね。誰でしょう。
私は一番たくさん食べました。
食べます。
食べます
or 食べると思います。
食べると思います。
Yeah, because you're not certain, but you think.
私は
はい。
卵を
卵を
たくさん卵を食べ
面白い
食べた
ですね。じゃあ、グループワーク、これはみんなで一緒にやりましょう。It says a group of
はい
3 or 4 people. Well, you guys basically are a group of 4 people because Ellie's just listening, not really speaking. So,
B さんはどこですか？
そうこの中で、このグループの中で、誰が一番若いですか？ Let's start with that one. 誰が一番若いでしょう？
若い。何歳ですか？22歳ですか？
はい。
22?
いえ。
あ、
何歳です
23歳暑いさん。
何歳でしょう
20日？
19歳です。
はい。あ、19歳ですか？
ああ、そうです。
あ、若いですね。はい。デーモンさんは？
22歳です。
あ、そうですか。
私も22歳です。
あ、そうですか。
18歳です。
あ、18歳です。
25歳です。
25歳。
エリさんは若い。
はい。
若い。
エリさんは、
一番若いです。
はい。エリさんは一番若いです。はい。
残念。
You're the youngest.
Oh, I'm gonna say
Wakay.
I'm the best.
若い、いや。
Well, the best
この中
youngest.
で、
Best young.
Best at being
こ
young.
の中で、in this case, 一番 is like the most.
Most youngest.
So the
Yeah.
EST is a suffix on a word in English, but in Japanese, it's a phrase that comes before the adjective.
はい。
So, エリさんが一番若いですね。あとは何でしょう。Who else can come up with a sentence that uses one of these 一番 something or other about people in this room?
一番料理をする？
一番料理が上手 would
あ
work.
誰が一番料理のが
料理が上手。
料理が上手ですか？
誰でしょうね。
ジョーさん、料理が上手ですか？
上手じゃない。
アンバさん？
Yeah.
エリさん？
I don't know.
Are you-
Are you good at cooking?
デーメンですか？
はい、いえ。
上手じゃない。
うん
私は上手です。
あ、そうですか。
How do you say if you're not good at all? Is zenzen
全然上手じゃないです。
shanai? Okay. So it would be ryori.
料理が全然
Got
上
it,
手じゃ
okay.
ない。
Oh yeah, okay. He's got between. Good.
一番泳ぎ
ますか？
一番泳ぎますか？誰か一番泳ぎますか？ Does that work?
Yeah, who swims the most?
Or the best, I guess. Would that
Oh,
work?
well, which one are you trying for? Best or
The
most?
best. The best at swimming.
Okay, so 誰が
マイケル・フェルプスさん。
いや、誰が泳ぐのが一番上手ですか？
誰が一番泳ぐ
泳ぐのが一番上手ですか？
泳ぐのが一番上手ですか？
はい。
はい
この中で誰が泳ぐのが一番上手ですか？
この中でそう
Could you still use choto? Choto?
難しいかな
Like if I want to say I'm a little good at it, could you say choto?
ちょっと
ちょっと上手です。
Or how would you say? You wouldn't say that at all.
That sounds odd in
私は
Japanese. You could say,
I'm all right at it. Like that's what.
私はまあまあ上手です。
Mama.
まあまあ is so
ま
so.
あまあ Is it まあまあ
まあまあ。
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Mama.
まあまあ
Okay, so
ミア
この中で誰が
Okay. How do you say it again? To do it again.
のが
もう一度いきます。
一番
もう一度に行く。もう一度に行く。
誰が泳ぐのが一番上手ですか？ Or I think you could also do it 誰が一番泳ぐのが上手ですか？ I think you could put the ichiban in there. Oh, I'm writing it in weird order. Ichiban.
How do you write the kanji for ban? Or is there a kanji for ban? Wow. 上手先生は上手。
じゃあこの中で誰が一番泳ぐのが上手ですか？ I think that's actually the more natural stroke, the more natural word order. 誰が一番泳ぐのが上手ですか？ Who's the best at swimming?
はい。そ
まあまあ。
う。アンバさん？は
はい。
い。上手。ああ、そうです。私も。
あ、
エリさん。
Yeah, that's bad.
あ
泳ぎませんか？そうですか。
デムさん？
Hit the.
ああ、そうです。
そうですか。
はい。あこの中で誰が運転するのが上手ですかかドライブ
はい。
車を運転するのが上手ですか Would that work?
はい。
Okay.
車を運転するのが
ジョーさん
一番
まあまあ。
アンドさん
嫌いです。
ああ、そうです。エリさん
What was it? Driving?
Driving.
Oh, yeah.
Humble. David?
Unten suru noga. Or do you use mo if I'm as well?
私も運転するのが
私も、okay. 私も運転するのが上手です。
あ私も
いやいや。
上手です。
はい。はい。じゃあ、can we think of other adjectives that you guys can use
Instead of 上手
instead of?
Oh, yeah.
So
That's all I can
for
think
example,
Who's the best?
who's the shortest? We who's the tallest?
この中で誰が背が低い
誰が一番
誰が一番背が低い 人です。
Did you beat me? Nani?
Yeah.
Oh, Tom.
誰？
ですジョーさん。ジョーさん、背が高い人です。
はい、ジョーさんは一番背が高いですね。誰が一番背が低いですか？ Who's the shortest?
エリさんは背が低い人と思います。
はい、エリさんは一番背が低いですか？
一番
Do they teach the same thing with verbs? Like who does things the best? Or is it just
Well, that's
adjectives
what
for this
that's
one?
what we were doing with Oyogu no ga Jozu, but yeah, I think this
Well, I mean, that's-
chapter mostly
oh, yeah.
works with adjectives.
Okay.
Yeah.
うん
背が高い、背が低い、腕若い. What other adjectives do you guys know that could describe?
かっこいい。この中で誰が一番かっこいい人ですか？
誰でしょう？
ジョーさん。
ジョーさん。
ジョーさん。How do you ask someone what they think? 何を
なんだと思いますか？
なんだと思います
か？
ジョーさん。
Or in this case, 誰だと思いますか？
誰
Who
だ
do you
と思
think?
いますか？
皆さん。
ああ、そうです。私もと思います。アンバさん、何だと思います？あ、誰だと思います？
わかりません。
あ、エリさん。
わかりません。
レムさん。
わかりません。
そうで
Nobody
す。
wants to answer that. It's a loaded question.
あ
How about like who's got the longest hair, the shortest hair,
Oh.
stuff like that?
この中で誰が髪が
一番
長いですか？エリさん。
はい。
エリさんは一番髪が長いです。
はい、そうですね。はい。じゃあ、誰が一番髪が短いでしょ
なんだと思います。ジョーさん。
はい。
ジョーさんは髪が短い？
一番
一番短い
です
です。
はい。
そう。
はい。
え
Okay. Is that enough for that activity? Do you feel like you got a pretty good handle on how to say those sentences now?
はい。
Right. Okay, do you want to do this next activity in pairs, or do you want to move on to practice one of the other grammar points first and then come back to that if we,
Pair sounds fun.
hmm?
Pair sounds fun. Unless somebody wants to do something else, we can see whose milk it is.
We don't have a lot of time left, so do you want to maybe practice something different first, and then we can always go back to that activity?
Yeah, we should do the
Okay.
refrigerator then, I guess.
Okay, so this is a refrigerator and a dormitory. Tell whose this thing is. Oh, that one's actually on the listening, so we can skip that one and try
Alright.
the next one, because the next one doesn't have a listening piece. So,
Okay.
ask your partner the following questions. So who wants to start? 'Cause I kind of lost track of what we were up to.
With the example,
はい、どうぞ。
どちらのコーヒーがいいですか？
熱いのがいいです。
はい。わかりますか? Does everybody understand what they're doing here?
Is it saying that the
Which-
hot one is
The hot one, yes.
Which one's good?
So they're actually,
Or which one's better?
yeah, which one's, yeah, like which one do you prefer?
Okay.
Yeah, どちらのコーヒーがいいですか? Which coffee is good?
Okay.
熱いのがいいです. I like the hot one, basically.
Okay.
So that no is like the English word one in that case. Instead of saying, I want the hot coffee, you can replace the word coffee with one when it's already understood what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
So you can do that in Japanese with no. Atsui atsui no instead of atsui kogi.
Okay. 1番
はい、どうぞ。
どちらの手袋がいいですか？This one. Apparently that's red.
青いが
青いの。
のがいいです。
はい、青いのがいいです。はい。
そうですか。
いいですね。
私は赤いのがいいですか？
はい。
いいです。
はい。
どちらのパンツがいいですか？
短いのがいいです。
はい、いいですね。3番どうぞ。
どちらのシャツがいいですか？
白いのがいいです。サムさん、どちらのカバンがいいですか？
綺麗のがいいです。
面白い。じゃあどうぞ5番。
お、私は。どちらのガイドブックを買いますか？
映画を買います。
英語の
英語のが
英語のを
の
いや英語のを買います。Because in the question you've got を買いますか So 英語のを買います。
No, you can do that.
映画のを買います。
英語のを買います。Make sure you're saying 英語 not 映画。
英語。
It's not a movie word, it's a English one.
I love this one.
英語のを買い
英
ます。
語の映画。
はい。じゃあ6番どうぞ。
どちらの教科書がいいですか？
簡単のがいいですよ。
はい。いいですね。
そうですか？
はい。いいですか？
はい。
I just want to look and see if they gave any. No.
Did you say anything?
Yes, I've got a note in
Kanemochi.
here. They neglected to explain this in the grammar points, but I've got a note saying keep the na when it's a na adjective. So kantan na no
簡単の
na no
がいいです。
yeah.
No, no,
So,
no.
Yeah, that
Oh,
question
this
came, 難しいのが好きです. I like the difficult one. 簡単なのが好きです. I like the easy one.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, that was a question that came up last time I taught this chapter, and I made a note in my book about it because it's an issue that they forget to address in the grammar
Is it-
explanation.
Is it nani? Like nano?
No, yeah.
So nani, the kanji for nani?
No, it's
Okay,
not.
just nano.
Just na from
Okay,
like
na.
kantan na.
So desu.
It's just
Na
the na
adjective.
from kantan na. You
Okay.
just keep the na in there when you're connecting a na adjective to
Yeah.
a noun. You keep the na,
I was just
right?
thinking
So when you're
backwards.
when you're replacing that noun with a no instead, you still leave the na in.
Hmm.
Okay.
So ka.
If I remember correctly, I actually did ask a native speaker about that one because I wasn't sure myself when it first came up. Okay. 質問がありますか? We've still got a few more minutes if you guys want to.
I have a question actually.
はい。
What is the difference between miruku and gyunyu?
Ah, Western influence.
Okay.
Junyu is the kanji term. It comes from Chinese,
Hmm.
and it's very literally cow's milk.
Okay.
And miruku comes from English.
So that could be goat's milk too?
Well, that's one possibility, that it could mean other kinds of milk besides cow,
Hmm.
but also just in terms of like they're used pretty much interchangeably. I don't think other kinds of milk have necessarily caught on much in Japan,
Okay.
but
Soy milk.
soy milk,
I thought
they've
most-
got a different word for, because that's actually an Asian thing that we borrowed from them.
I thought most of them were lactose intolerant.
A lot of Japanese people are lactose intolerant, but milk is still available. And there are a number of people who can tolerate it, who do drink milk and eat cheese and all that. But there are Japanese people who avoid it because they don't tolerate it as well. So what was I starting to say? But as far as like labeling on things, a lot of times they're interchangeable in terms of packaging. So like a carton of milk in Japan might be labeled gyunyu, it might be labeled miruku.
Mm.
Depending on the brand or the company, it might have both. Like
Oh.
if you're talking about like the little cartons like you got in school, it might have gyunyu on two sides and miruku on the other two sides or something.
Mm. I had another question.
Hi,
For Isha,
hi,
doctor,
hi.
is that interchangeable the way that we do it, like in our culture, or could you say that for like a surgeon, or is there like a different name?
Isha is a term that refers to a profession. It just means that somebody is a doctor.
Okay, somebody
But
went
you
through
wouldn't
medical school.
call somebody Isha.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
So-
if you're calling them by name, like if it's Dr. Tanaka, you would actually call him Tanaka Sensei. They use the term sensei
I did not
to
know that.
address a doctor. But if you're talking about, what's his profession, Isha desu. If you're talking about somebody that you're close to, that's the humble form. Oisha-san is the honorific form to say that person that I don't know well is an honorable doctor. So Oisha-san is a
Oisha-san.
honorific form to refer to
Oh.
so-and-so is a doctor. And the humble form, let's say you've got a relative whose profession is doctor, you would say Isha desu.
so this.
And then that humble versus honorific contrast is something that we're gonna get more and more of when we get more advanced. Some in this chapter, but in this semester, but even more so when we get further along in book 2.
Okay.
We get into a lot of honorific and humble content in level 4.
Yeah, my buddy was complaining to me because you have to conjugate differently for honorific like verbs and stuff.
Yes, yes, there's a whole chapter just about how you conjugate the darn stuff, so. Okay, so I'm thinking that's about it for now, because I do need a break between this class and my next class coming in.
Okay.
But, I feel like that was a good amount that we covered today.
Yeah.
And,
For what, we have an hour?
yeah, so for next week, go ahead and kind of work your way ahead. Also go back and do some of those listening activities that we skipped over if you haven't done them yet. We didn't talk about whether or not you guys still want a homework grade in this class, or if you want the grades just to be the test grades.
Well, I'm already doing the homework.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
So-
that's good.
so I hope so.
Yeah, so, yeah, if you want, I mean, personally, I think it helps on two fronts.
Yeah.
One, it gives you an easy way to get a good grade,
Mm.
right? And it boosts your average if you do your homework,
Yeah.
right? And two, it becomes an incentive to actually do the prep that you need to do in order to do well on tests. Because you're not really gonna learn this stuff if you skimp on the homework, right?
Hmm.
So if you want to keep the same kind of schedule that the regular classes have, we'll plan on doing the homework just like usual and turning it in on test days just like usual. And so you would need to go back and, go through all of those activities that are listening material activities and do them written out like before. And then the ones we did in class today, those should be pretty easy to write out answers to because you've just practiced them. So if you can, do the listening parts and get started on the non-listening parts for the next couple segments so that when we come to class next Thursday, you've already practiced the stuff and then you'll be more prepared that way to do it together in class.
Because
So-
before class today, me and Joe just got finished writing like 500 Nohoga Yori sentences.
Nice.
So we were prepared.
Yeah, so if you go ahead and, catch up on anything you skipped in segments 1, 2, and 3, Roman numerals 1, 2, and 3, and then Roman numeral 4 and 5, and quite possibly 6, we might get to in class next week.
Okay.
And we'll kind of gauge how we're doing, and then there's Roman numeral 7, and then 8 is the Matome no Renshu. And we'll gauge whether we feel like we're going too fast, too slow as we go. Because I do have the schedule. Does everybody remember how to find the schedule in Canvas? So you can print off a copy of the schedule for yourself. And what I've got spread out over 2 class periods, we're going to consolidate because we're only going to be meeting once a week.
Okay.
So just look at what I've got for a whole week and figure we're going to try to cover as much of that as we can all at once on the Thursday,
Right.
since Tuesdays is going to be devoted to the level 2 group. So, and the goal is to get through all of not just this material, but also the end of book reading and writing material. So for lesson 10, obviously you're going to want to be working on your kanji, and I want to make sure we leave at least 1 or 2 Thursdays for reading the kanji activities together in class and reading the story together in class. And again, when you've gotten through enough of this chapter that you feel ready to start looking at it, you should tackle these activities on your own time before we get to them in class, so that hopefully when the time comes, you're feeling prepared, and when we go to actually read the story out loud together in class, you're not stumbling over kanji pronunciations because you'll have already practiced them and reviewed how to read them and maybe even written little notes to yourself for the ones that you're afraid you're going to forget. Because they don't give you furigana on very many at all in this
Right.
chapter, because they're mostly just using kanji that they expect you to already know. And there are quite a few in there because there are quite a few kanji that you guys have studied by now.
Yeah.
So they do a very good job with this textbook of sort of making a point of teaching you the kanji that you need to be able to read the content that they're giving you in that part of the chapter.
Mhm.
So, they really use the kanji that they're teaching you.
Mhm.
So,
You also kind of throw in some other kanji that you're gonna eventually need to know or that you're going to learn later.
right, and
So
they,
you kind of built
and
up
they
to
put
it.
the furigana
So you're already
on those
familiar with it by the-
right,
by
yeah,
the
so
chapter.
that, yeah, they've given you the furigana on to and akite and a few others in here, but that, yeah.
Like we knew Tomodachi before we even, or Tomo, before we even.
Right, before
got
you
there.
got to it, because it had been shown to you before. Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of the way I wanna run this class. So you guys are gonna do a lot of work on your own because it is independent study. But when we come together, we'll work on, first priority will be any questions that have come up for you as you were doing the prep work. And so if you tried your best to do number 10 and you're just not sure if you made any sense out of it or not, ask about that. We can do that first. Second priority will be doing the exercises in the textbook that aren't part of the listening material, because that's good practice and it's something that you know, again, you might have done it for homework, but we want to check and make sure you
Right.
really knew what you were doing. And then third will be to do the same thing with any workbook exercises that we still have time for. So probably what I'll do is the text content for the Kaiwa section, the text content for the kanji section, and then if we still have time before the test week, we'll do the workbook materials also, because I want to give you guys the opportunity to also ask me questions about any problems that may have come up in the workbook. And if we get that far and we've got the time, we may even take the time to let everybody write answers on the board sometimes and do it both written and orally.
Sounds good.
Okay? And when you guys come, if you're able to come on Tuesdays, I know you can't make it Tuesday mornings, but those of you who do want to come, if you want to come in on Tuesday mornings and sit in on the level 2 class, you can participate in what they're doing as a review, or if you want to just kind of move yourself to the back of the room and work quietly, that's okay too.
I will always be late on the 11 o'clock.
Okay,
Only a little
Yeah.
bit though, because I do
Okay.
have my class in Cocoa ends at 10:40,
right.
so it takes me a
Yeah,
little
you've
bit
got to
to get up there.
drive from there. Ellie,
can't-
do you know, do all of them still want to start with that at 11, or would they rather start a little early? Since Sam was sitting in, he doesn't have to be there on
We can
time.
start at like 10:50,
Yeah,
because I have a class before that ends at 10:40.
okay, yeah, but you're on this campus?
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, if you want to check in with Minna and Ryan and see if they want to start it at 10:50, that
Okay.
would be okay with me. And I don't mind if you walk in late, you can just, you know, come in quietly, you don't have to, you know, be obtrusive or anything, but, you know, you're not Zach.
I'm here.
Yeah, you're not Godzilla, you know, so,
All right.
okay, cool. But I think this is gonna work,
Yeah.
and if there's anything that's not working for you guys, please feel free to talk to me about it, and we can tweak it as we go, because Independence Day is always different.
Yeah.
But I think we can.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Japanese one people can come in now if they want to.
Hi.
That was my level 3 class that just left.
Sorry for coming in on
That's
your
okay.
last class. I misread the schedule as being 3:30 instead of 4:30.
Ah, okay, so you thought you were just a little bit early, not a
Yeah.
whole hour and 15 early.
Were you wanting to review our flashcards or just?
Not necessarily, I wanted you to do them so that you'll have them. Yeah. But, hold on. Okay, I need to stop.